Attention, all of my elevated content seekers. We Believe Digital is designed to inspire. Whether it's music, news, entertainment, We Believe Digital has the content that you don't want to miss. We're bringing you the best in news, entertainment, sports, inspiration, and so much more. Not only are we designed to inspire, but you can advertise with us and reach your target audience now. Got something that you believe in? Well, we believe in you, and we're offering you the opportunity to become a podcaster at We Believe Digital Studios. To become a want to know more? You can contact us at www.webelievedigital.com. And while you're at it, be sure to follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Roku at We Believe Digital.
See it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know, if you don't see it, it might not be working properly. Oh, you can? Okay, then. I didn't know they have it out here so we can see it too, but if you see it in there, you don't have anything to worry about, I guess. And you say the sound is good too? Okay.
Good evening and welcome to Doc and Sock. We're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi. Mississippi in the heart of the deep, deep South, a place that you got to visit sometime. Got the best streams and rivers and trees, and the grass is green and the weather is nice. Interstate 55 and I-20 intersect downtown Jackson, Mississippi. We have Highway 49, the 61 with the Blues Trail running from Yazoo City up through the Delta, up around Ground Zero with Morgan Freeman. And it's just so many beautiful things to talk about in the great state of Mississippi. And with all of those assets, we find ourselves very much on the bottom, last in many categories. I cannot figure that out. How it is that you can have assets like that and then find yourself on the bottom in every measurable goal that indicates a good quality of life. But we're here to talk about it, and we're here to bring ideas and solutions that can create change in a positive way. Now, those of you that are watching us on Facebook, then send us stars and shout outs, and then subscribe to the program. You know, subscriptions are very important. You'll get the kind of content that we don't show on the live feed because the conversation gets too hot, the topics get too serious, and we don't want anybody to get hurt. But our subscriber base, you know, we trust you with that information for sure. If you're watching us on YouTube, then hit the notification button and send us stars and subscribe to the YouTube channel over on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, wherever you get your streaming from, you can find We Believe Digital right there. As always, my co-host is the Honorable, the distinguished gentleman from the Mississippi Delta, born in a plantation in the Mississippi Delta. And I say on a plantation, in the plantation, however you want to categorize it. But like Moses, somebody put him in a basket and he escaped. And he is now one of the most renowned speakers and authors in this part of the country. Doc, how have you been?
Well, I've been fine, Mr. Socrates, and see, it's Friday, so it appears that you're doing well today.
I am doing well, but we got a lot to talk about. We're on 3 days a week now, and so our audience depend upon us to bring them the relevant information and the data. What is the hot topic for Jackson today?
Well, Jackson now has a serious political problem. You have a lot of what I call thing being planned. A lot of politicians in the Democratic sphere are concerned about their future. It appears that they are about to lose their power. If you call it losing power, they don't have a majority vote in anything at least, but they might think they're going to be in a worse situation if they can get this gerrymandering and redistricting done, which the governor says is going to be happening. And what we have to do now, Chuck, is to devise a means where redistricting would be a blessing for us, no matter how the lines are made.
How would we do that? I mean, who is smart enough to figure something like that out?
Well, that's not hard to do. You do what people do when they want to make change, when they are tired of people taking advantage of them. We do like the Republicans and the Democrats did in the past, where they just switch parties. A good example would be the Southerners used to be Democrats. Black folks got involved in the Democratic parties. White folks said, and I'm talking about nationwide, well, we don't want to involve blacks in this party. They want to have freedom. We are going to leave them and join the Republican Party. So if it happens in one way with the Caucasian community, black people can do the same thing. They can build coalitions with moderates, with social democrats, with independents and others, and get involved in the Republican Party, especially where they have 18% in any district or any area on the county or city level. And this can happen all over America, and especially in areas where the Republicans are in the majority in both houses.
So, Doc, let me be clear. I get your strategy. You're saying that blacks folk can control the outcome of elections, even where they don't have the majority.
That is correct.
And if you control the outcome, then you're able to elect a social Democrat or moderate or
Republican.
Moderate Republican.
Of course.
And you think that in the case of us electing a moderate Republican, we'd be better off if we were all in the Democratic Party and lose every election?
No, I wouldn't say all. I said in positions where we at least 30% of the population. No, we shouldn't abandon the Democrat Party, but you have to be strategic and look at certain districts where you probably can make a move where you can get some influence in those areas.
And so for our viewers out there all over the world, now you know that redistricting is a nationwide issue from California to Florida. So everybody is trying to see now how can they control the power and the influence that blacks have enjoyed since 1964, 1965, in terms of those amendments to the Constitution for the Voting Rights Acts and the right to vote. And so redistricting now is the new way of control. And the new plantation owner says that we can control you now by drawing the lines. And here in Mississippi, it's called the Bennett-Thompson Removal Act, more so than redistricting, because we all know that we only have one black representative in the state of Mississippi in Congress in Washington, D.C., one black out of, I believe, Doc, we have 5 different individuals that are representing us in Washington, 2 senators and 3 or 4 congressmen. And so, but now we want to remove the only black that we have in a state that's got 40% black population. Go figure, Doc. Why would that make any sense, and why would anybody want to do that?
Well, it makes a lot of sense when you have been bred and born to believe that you're supposed to dominate at least 99% of the economic, political, and social spheres in your community, it's normal. That's what people have been taught. We have been told and seen and read in the Constitution that black folks are not significant. They have no rights that anybody should respect. That has been proven through Supreme Court cases. And historically, we have been abused and killed and messed over and did very little about it. And people know that's the way to go. Do anything you want to black folks. And people of what I call the dark color hue and poor whites, and you don't have anything to worry about. Because your people, your allies, are the same people that's going to make decisions that's going to look out and support you. The judges, the lawyers, the big corporate leaders, all of those people are in your camp. And if you're in a political position in Mississippi or in the South or almost anywhere, the same rich people are going to support whoever the big politician is in that state, whether it's Democrat or Republican.
Now, Doc, you mentioned darker hues and poor whites, but you didn't mention the gatekeepers, the mulattoes that seem to be in strategic position to make a difference.
Well, there are some mulattoes, but most of those people are what we call lost. They love white folks more than they love themselves in most cases. Any time that they can help black people get what we call parity in any situation, you find that these mulattoes who declare to themselves that they're more white than black, they're not going to work with black folks. History shows that. In almost any town where you have had a lot of economic withdrawal, you find that the mulattoes usually rule for a while, and when they got a chance to get some equalization going, where white folks said blacks have too much power, they just seem to fizzle out and not be black anymore.
Well, you have relatives that fall in that category?
I most certainly do. I have some.
Do you love them like you love your darker skinned brothers and sisters?
Well, I tolerate them. I tolerate them.
Is there a difference in the mindset of the relatives that are fair skinned?
Yes, it is. It is. And I told you before that we have what they call family reunions like all other folks. But the mulattoes in our family, those that left Mississippi in the 40s, 50s, and early 60s, they have now, they are about 3 generations. And some of them now are whiter than the average white person. They are married several times in the other race, and their kids are 99% white. And they don't even visit our relatives when they come home. They usually live in hotels, and those blacks that are family members will visit them in hotel, and some will come down and visit their relatives at night. But they're just like their white peers. They can deal with you at night, but not during the day. They're not going to come to the church that they used to attend 50 and 60 years ago.
Now, Doc, there's a difference in a mulatto and a white person. Now, you're saying they are mulattoes. You're not saying that they are interracial marriages and in your relatives. They just have the color of their parent, the slave master that had his way with the black woman and produced a mulatto. I don't know any other way for you to get one other than that to happen.
Well, that is the way it happened. But the thing is, since it's been about 3 generations, they have intermarried now with white folks. When they moved to the western part of the country, the eastern part, and other parts, many of them didn't declare that they were black because they left Mississippi because they were not happy economically. They didn't have good job opportunities. So they just went on and moved in areas, didn't declare that they were black, and married people in the Caucasian race and other so-called white folks like Hispanics, Asians, and others. And now, 3 generations later, they are whiter than white folks in appearance. in most cases.
But they're still black.
That's right. They are, and they know it.
And so we understand that the classification to become black is if you have one drop of black blood in you. You may have 99% of some other ethnic group, but if you got one drop of black blood in you, then you're black.
But that's the what we call the legal definition. But as long as people don't know it, you don't worry about it. Now look at the Pope, for instance, the Pope, current Pope in the world, in the world. Now listen, now that Pope is a descendant of black people, and I bet when he went to seminary and other places, he didn't declare himself black. I bet when he was in the position where he was getting ready to become cardinal, he never declared that he was black. I bet he didn't talk about it, and others couldn't look at him and tell. But when they finally did the research, when he became Pope, they found out that he had descendants that were slaves in the South, especially in the New Orleans area.
Doc, I've never heard that before.
Oh, come on now. You know you've heard that.
I've never
You didn't know that? I'm talking about the current Pope.
Are you trying to tell me we got a black Pope?
That's what I'm telling you.
Doc,
I didn't make that up.
I'm
just telling you what the researchers
I
say.
want a heightened security. I want security to be on full alert because Doc has discovered something that I know is going to anger the whole Catholic world, because if they thought they had a black Pope leading them, I think they would denounce the religion and turn to Christianity or Buddhism or something else.
Well,
nobody wants a black person to lead them, Doc.
No, they don't, but they just got tricked. They didn't know that until they did some serious research about his heritage. Of course, he is not the black one, the only one. You know, they had 2 or 3 in the early days when they first had the popes throughout the world. And I tell you, what goes around comes around.
Doc.
You don't believe me? Do the research, and you'll find that I'm on point again. I hate to be so specific, but the fact is that things that have been in the past going to come in the future.
Doc. Now, I believe that we had a U.S. president that had black children. I don't think that he was black, but he certainly had a black family. I believe that was Jefferson.
Of course.
And so, I mean, that's not no new news there. We understand that they had multiple families, and that's how you produced all of the people that we call gatekeepers. Because when you look at Frederick Douglass, you're looking at an individual that doesn't have African features. When you look at Du Bois, he doesn't have African features. When you look at Booker T. Washington, he doesn't have African features. I don't know if anybody that we celebrate that has real serious African features other than Marcus Garvey.
Well, there's one that a lot of you don't like to talk about, that one that has African features, and that was one of your presidents called Abraham Lincoln. If you look at Lincoln, you'll find and put him with people like Marcus Garvey and others, you'll see some of the characteristics. But if you put him with other white folks, you can clearly see that he is or has been mulattoized, whether he admits it or not, through the history books, I mean his writers.
Abraham Lincoln.
Look at his picture. You go by the picture. Then you do the research and find out where those people came from. Were there any black folks in that area? What kind of relationships did they have with the blacks? Look at their economic status. Were they poor, farmers, or sharecroppers during that time? You have to look at that, and you'll find that that's the fact. And they said Eisenhower, the great general, had some black heritage in him, President Eisenhower.
So why do we have difficulties getting along with one another? And why do we think that there's racism all through America? Why would there be racism if, in fact, we have such interrelations and we have our black blood and our white blood has been mixed? Why can't we get along?
Well, we can't get along because we don't want to get along. See, if you mess around and destroy this dual system that we have and this dual consciousness where one group says we are superior, we look better, we are smarter, we have more money, our children are beautiful, we have the best education in the world, and we go into control and we're going to keep it in our sphere of influence. And blacks and others not going to have anything significant to do with it. And we're going to degrade them and teach them that they are totally non-human, but they must be able to work with us in the menial jobs. Help us, our sick parents. Help us raise our children. Help us work in the menial jobs that we don't want to get involved in. Make sure that they are miseducated so they won't be able to be competitive. And when you find one that can get over these situations and still be similar to me, and I'm talking about the Caucasian race, we are going to have to find a way to curtail his power or her power when they get to a certain point economically, socially, or politically. We're going to either frame them or find out their weaknesses and openly accuse them of indulging in some kind of activity, whether it's legal or illegal, something that is not acceptable in our society. And we are going to expose them and encourage them to resign, commit suicide, or say, I'm going to get out of this position, whether it's politics and religion or a social position, because of family reasons. Those are the facts.
And I recall that, we can be so ugly and so brutal with our information. I recall the characterization of Jesse Jackson because he fathered a child outside of the marriage, and the media and white folk wanted to destroy him for that. And then you see in the movies that the insinuation, I don't know if it's ever been collaborated, but the insinuations that Martin Luther King had extramarital affairs, and so he should step down, because once you tarnish a brother's reputation, it's hard for him to retain a leadership role.
Well, it is, but the thing is, brothers and others that have gotten themselves in those positions should ignore that kind of propaganda and go on and do what they're going to do. There's no need to trying to debate issues along those lines. It's best not to say anything about it. Let them prove it. And you go on about your business.
Well, America's real hard. I mean, I remember when a presidential candidate, Hart, was running, and they showed him with pictures of girls on a boat, and it just destroyed his campaign.
Well, that's true, but let me tell you why it destroyed his campaign. Because he was guilty, others saw it, and they were jealous because they couldn't do it. So therefore, you have to put a stumbling block in a person's place, so he'll be able to step down or be forced down. Believe it or not, most people in high positions have multiple types of desires that are not what we call the average norm. And most of them, as you know, have a strong tendency to do things in private. And you have a lot of people in the religious field and politics that are very deviant, and most of their peers know about it, but they don't expose them because the person that's deviant knows some of the deviancy of the other people that's not doing what he or she is doing, but they're doing something similar.
Well,
so you just don't say much about it unless now they are in a position where they're going to hurt you. So you try to get to them first.
Well, Doc, right and wrong showed up in the Bible, in religion. Before that, I don't think there was no right or wrong. Man just did whatever the hell he wanted to do. any way that he wanted to do it, and nobody said anything about it.
Well, it all depends, Sock, on who had the biggest club during that time, who had the biggest club and who was able to kill the animals. If you could kill animals during that period with your club and was able to fight and find a good cave to go in with your meat and run the others out, you became king of your environment. And that was constantly happening throughout the world. And when people moved from city to city, town to town, or territory to territory, they always found someone else there that were descendants of what we call Africa. If you read the history, you'll find this all over the world: Asia, China, India, Latin America, even America, South America. You find old statues of black folks that you can't deny were black, that were here and there in those countries way before the Europeans arrived and took those areas by hook and crook.
Doc, I know we're sharing a lot of information with our viewers all over the world, and these discussions need to be had. I mean, these revelations are something that you won't find being discussed anywhere else. I mean, here at We Believe Digital, we like to bring you the information, and hopefully the truth will set you free, will make you feel better about yourself. I looked at the old artists that were being destroyed because they tried to send messages that said that we are as good as any other people. For example, you know, Curtis Mayfield put out the song "Keep on Pushing," and James Brown said, "I'm black and I'm proud," and so they suffered for that because, you know, society wants to keep the little man, the black man, in his place in a certain desired position, which is subservient to him. And then when we go to church on Sunday and we open the Bible and it says that you ought to obey your master, and I get all confused and conflicted with that. Why would my Bible tell me that I ought to obey my master when I ought not have no master?
Well, the thing is, you have to look at who wrote the Bible. If you look at the writers in the Bible, you will find that 2/3 of those books. Now, you do the research and find out. Now, I talk a lot of stuff, but I don't talk at the top of my head. You have found that most of the books in the Bible were written by Jewish scholars. Most of them. And they declared that the Lord told them, now I'm paraphrasing now to make it simple so a third grader will understand, that the Lord told them that they are blessed people, they are the chosen people, and he's going to give them their own country, their own land.
It had giants in it.
Well, they couldn't mess with those giants until they got David to be involved. And he was what you call an outlayer. He was not a favorite among his brothers, as you know. And when they were discussing how they're going to get rid of Goliath, he just showed up. I'm going to use my old connotation. They went and got him out the field, and he just showed up, a young man. They had no respect for him. The brothers didn't like it. And he said, in so many words, I can go and take care of this matter. And they tried to put armor on him. It wouldn't fit. You know, he was a young boy, teenager. And he just grabbed what he had, picked up a slingshot, a few rocks, and went out and faced that giant. They had a few words, and he didn't yield. He didn't run. He wasn't afraid. And he walked a little closer and put that slingshot rock right between his eyes. And that's what people are going to be doing in the future. You will find that the poor people, the people that have been denied and oppressed, are going to rise again, starting off with individuals. Then it's going to be collective groups in economics, politics, religion, and social spheres all over the world. And as you used to find, as I told you, all those African statues throughout the world, in Asia and India and all them places up there in Latin America, that were there before the Europeans arrived prior to the 10th century. You're going to see that happening again. And a lot of those statues are going to be erected and put up in the various areas throughout the world. They're going to be honored like you all honor the white Jesus today, and how like you all honor Martin Luther King and others. They're going to be in the homes, the churches, and the businesses of the new rulers, and it's going to be the so-called colored people of the world, because even today, colored people of the world is about 75% of the world's population. Now, with all this integration going on, the colored people of the world are going to become more colored in the next 50 years than they are now. And when I say more colored, they will be more darker. Therefore, there will be more and more hatred going on against the colored people of the world. And then that's when the population will have shifted so much until the antagonists, the Europeans, are not going to be able to control them. Now they're going to fight them and try to bomb them. And that's where they're going to make the mistake. Because you're going to see then that with the majority being so-called people of color, they're going to come up with something called, and I'm predicting the future, something called the night of the thousand lights. When they are attacked in one part of the world, they're just going to automatically defend themselves in 1,000 locations at the same time on all the continents. Just automatic. It can be ingrained in their systems. And that's going to give the people that's in the positions of power, economically, religiously, socially, educationally, a notation that if we continue this, we're going to be destroyed. So we're just going to lay low and do the things we need to do and act like we're going to get along with these folks and try to consolidate our strategies. And in about 50 or 60 years, we can make some gains economically, politically, and socially by declaring and making new groups that we will call white folks or Caucasians. And you just declare them that in order to combat the growing number of blacks and dark colored hue throughout the world.
So if white folk understand that their numbers are diminishing, they must have a strategy to deal with that.
They do.
Maybe the strategy is they no longer live by the theory that one drop of black blood makes somebody black. Maybe they're going to accept mulattoes as white.
They will.
I don't know, but if you see that your numbers are growing smaller each and every year worldwide, and the conflicts are becoming more frequent and more violent, then you need numbers. You if you don't have numbers, Doc, if you're not having enough babies, if you're not growing, then you become vulnerable to what you're describing.
Well, there are two ways to eliminate that. The first way, if your numbers are diminishing, you have to create new numbers and more numbers. One way to do it is to destroy as many of your opponents as possible. And I'm talking about people of color worldwide. And number two, you're going to have to create other groups that you will accept as your peers by giving them a designation higher than the current black population that's worldwide. And those are the people that look more like you than what we call the Caucasians throughout the world. Now,
Well,
that is what's going to happen. Now, most people don't want to hear this kind of thing. Most people don't believe it, but there's nothing new under the sun. Everything will reverse to the old way. And after a period of study and conflict, it's going to change again. This world is not going to be destroyed anytime soon, physically, even though many are doing their best to leave this planet and go in space. But we don't have to worry about that too much because that's going to take at least 600 years, and only the rich are going to be able to go. They are going to have colonies, but black folks, they're not going to send black folks there. They didn't send them to Africa during and after slavery. They need them.
Doc, I don't know about the colonization of space, but I don't think there's ever been any place in the world that black folks didn't arrive or exist. And I wouldn't be shocked to find that if when you get up there in space, that you're going to run into Leon.
I wouldn't doubt it. There will be a few up there. Anywhere you go, the black man has already been there. And he's not always visible, but you can find him if you make enough noise.
And Pookie and them will probably be there when you get there. Doc, we're running up out of our time, and so we have an important topic that we want to bring to our viewers today. Mississippi and all of America is struggling now with these data centers and the concept of a data center. And New York State says we want a moratorium on the data centers. And the local council in Jackson, Mississippi says we want a moratorium. We want to study the impact of data centers. And Doc is causing redistricting and data centers are the two items that you mentioned earlier, are taking up a lot of the time at the dining room tables here in Mississippi. Don't forget the crime. We're not dealing with it much today, but black woman found hanging from her backyard 2 days ago. We're not saying that we're not going to deal with those issues, because we are. But these two right here this evening, we want to spend a little bit more time on. Next week, we're going to deal with Nolan Wells. We're going to deal with the fact that the black lady was being hung. We're going to deal with Mr. Reed. They got hung up at Delta State. We're going to deal with the Mississippi's reluctance and inability to show the world that we are one of the fairest places to live in and that we value all of our citizens. So we're going to get to that. But Doc, data centers is kicking up a lot of dust and confusion, and council people are split and fighting over it. Business people and clergy are divided on the issue. What the hell is going on with data centers?
Well, nothing going on that's bad unless you create bad connotations. Data centers are going to be the industry in the next 50 years. As of today, they have more jobs and job potential in that area than any other industry in America. The wages are usually, and I have the information here, is $10 more per hour than the average wage for a person that has skills in construction, installation, and engineering. And I didn't say degrees in that. You don't need degrees all the time in construction, installation, engineering. With the new technology and artificial intelligence, now they have what we call these certification programs that I've been talking about. And I have information here that show that if you are a high school or college dropout, you can get those jobs in the data centers without going to school. You can get them through certification online and going sometime to training programs for a short period of time with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months. It all depends on the certification you want. And it is a new area. It's going to be with us whether we like it or not. Because anytime you could make $10 more an hour, and that's going to be a 42% increase compared to jobs in the non-data center sphere. 42% increase without a college degree. You could be a dropout, high school or college dropout, and get this training 1 to 4 months, get these certifications, and you can get these jobs in construction, installation, and engineering. That's the new thing.
Now, Doc, you say data centers house computer servers and store and route digital data.
That's right.
Now, the digital world is new to some of our citizens.
Exactly.
Should they be afraid of it? Is there any alarms out there that need to be sounded about the data center operation?
The only alarm that should be sounded, which a lot of people are not going to do, is that you better get out there and get yourself certified if you are 16 years of age or older, because that's where the new jobs are and that's where the money is. If you're going to make $10 more an hour than 42% of the people that's currently working that have dropped out of high school or college or finished college with the wrong major, you will get involved in data centers. It's just going to be the thing. Artificial intelligence is an equalizer to miseducation. If you can't get it in school, you can get it at home now through the computers, through artificial intelligence, sitting right in your living room or in your little room in the corner, and learn these things. Take your test online, and they will also teach you the best way to start incrementally. Certification 1, certification 2, certification 3. When you get certification 3, you're usually getting in lower management. And you go up to certification 5 in artificial intelligence, in construction, installation, and engineering. You're then in management positions. And you still don't have the traditional college degree, which you don't need. And that's going to be phasing out the colleges. You're going to have more and more colleges that are going to be going out of business. First, they're going to start cutting down some of those majors they had. Then they're going to start raising the prices with the new majors that they are going to have to start putting more focus on. And they are going to be related towards artificial intelligence, automation, building robots, building and working in data centers, outer space activities. This is what the new educated people will be doing, and they don't need a 4, 6, or 8-year college degree to do it. And that's going to equalize the workforce somewhat. Now, there are going to be some people trying to keep certain folks out of it. But when you get to the point where you installed and invested millions and billions of dollars in something, you have to do what they did in World War II. You say, well, we're just going to have to hire these black folks and these people of color to get some of these jobs because our boys are fighting in the war. So we're going to give the blacks an opportunity to work in the factories, even though they put them all at the lower level. Every now and then, if you had one that could pass as white, which you did, they can get in a supervisory position. And sometimes they got higher than that because they were smarter. And everybody knows you don't mind getting one smart black or 2, but you can't get 3 in positions of high level responsibility.
You can't get 3. I was born in Mississippi, in Canton, Mississippi, and I remember when 3 or 4 blacks would be standing on the corner and the sheriff would come by and disperse the crowd.
Of course.
Said you can't have 3 or more of y'all standing and talking at one time.
They used to say in Bolton years ago when I was a boy, What plantation you on? Y'all ain't got nothing to do. What you all doing down here in the middle of the day? Well, we come to pick up something.
So
And you
we-
just walk on away and go on to another corner.
You go on to another corner.
That's
But
right.
blacks were not allowed to congregate.
No, you were not.
And that
You
because they didn't want information being shared.
Of course.
You know, they didn't want folk to understand that how bad it was over on this side and at this farm and which plantation was worse. And all that stuff is still going on in a certain degree. Now, Doc, you say that blacks have to get involved in data centers, artificial intelligence, space, and ocean explorations, because you say that's the new world.
That's a new word, including maritime activities on the oceans, on the rivers. They're going to have to learn how to navigate and be on these barges, how to live on the sea, on these barges that's leaving Mississippi and going up the river and coming back. It's on these cruise ships and all of these kind of things, because when you make more money, you're going to want to do more things.
You are, but what about traditional things like factory workers or farmers or teachers or somebody goes to school, get 4 years in college and liberal arts, and we spend a lot of time studying, history and things of that nature. Are those careers and opportunities no longer going to be popular?
They're going to be popular, but not as much as they are currently, because those historians and others in the areas that you mentioned are going to be what I call automated prone. They're going to do the research through ChatGPT and other modes of social media that's not even developed yet. For instance, you would walk up into a place and say, I want to write a book about the future and the history of the world, starting from the 1st century through the 5th century. And I want to include economic development, history, literature, and oceanography. And I want 400 pages, and I want the facts to generate from the beginning of this period to the last 500 years. I want it on the 8th grade level. And you push a button, count to 50, and go and pick up your book.
Wow.
That's going to be happening.
How long would it take you to learn that in school?
Oh, you don't need to go to school to learn that. You can learn that in your bedroom when you turn your pouring off, and as a kid, and learn that within a few days.
Well, I don't know what you're turning off, but I get the fact that you can learn that in a few days, and you may never even approach the subject matter in a traditional school or college setting.
Well, you will not, because those topics are exclusive topics for the well endowed educationally and those that have the finances to get these jobs currently. But with this equalization of online courses and training, where you don't need to go to the big university to do it, that's why they're going to be diminished in size. And then they're going to have hundreds of them disappearing. Right now, we have about 5,000 universities and colleges in America. And every year, you're losing 1 or 2% of the colleges. Reduction in size, and some financially just disappearing. Others are merging with others. And as the years increase, more and more going to be going out of business. They're going to be more and more exclusive. It's going to cost $150,000 to go to one now. In the future, where you had to pay $100,000 today or $70,000. It's going to be 30 to 50% more, because you're going to have higher standards to get in those places. But the person that want to work, not going to be worried about it.
Well, Doc, we talk about artificial intelligence, and you say it's the way of the future, but some feel that you can't control it. I mean, like my daddy said when they went to the moon, the first exploration to the moon, my daddy said, "You ain't got no business going up there. That is a bad thing. Man ought not be going to the moon." He said about smoking. He said if God had intended you to smoke, he would have put a chimney on the side of your head. Old folk had a way of saying things, trying to maintain what they were comfortable with. Now, there are some that think AI, once it gets deeply involved in society, it's hard to stop it. It may, in fact, start to run us as opposed to us pushing a button for AI.
Well, that's going to happen too, of course. That's going to happen.
Should we be afraid of that?
No, of course not.
Should we
Because
be
man will find a way to curtail that new venture by putting guidelines in order. They're going to have markers that say the people that invent this kind of stuff got to stop at a certain point. Even though some are going to be able to do more along the line of destruction because the politicians are going to allow it, because those people are going to have so much money and lobbyists that will pay the politician to change the legislation or promote legislation that's not good for the world. See, this is a world problem. It's not what we call a Southern problem or national state type problem. This is an international problem that's going to semi-equalize the people all over the world. And that's why the so-called people of color going to wake up, because they're not going to need all the resources that we have today to get the education that we've been learning through miseducation. They're going to be able to be their own teachers. Little groups going to get together and figure out how to do things. I saw a story where somebody left some old computers in a village in Africa that didn't even have electricity, and a lot of old parts of electrical units. And those young people figured that thing out and learned how to build a computer and play on the thing and change history in that little African city. It can happen again, and it's going to happen.
Well, the danger again, could AI one day create a man, a human?
Well, they almost done it today. Sure, they're going to do that. Now they're not going to be flesh.
So I don't understand cloning, exactly how that works, but you know, the danger of AI being able to create a whole new race.
Well, they're going to do that too. But the government, as well as they can, going to try to hamper that process. But they are going to be doing it now because you have evidence of that right now. They have drones now that can run faster than rabbits. They have others that can see behind walls. You have others that you can program to go in space, come down a chimney, go all through a house, take pictures of it, and generate that picture to somebody 30,000 miles away or 40,000 miles away in another country or in space, and tell them everything they see and give you a program and a spot as to what you need to do to destroy this building within 30 seconds or less. All of this is going to be happening. Of course, it is going to be curtailed somewhat, but it's still going to be allowed because I told you before, those people have all the money. They're going to pay these lobbyists to go in there and give these politicians and preachers and corporate leaders monies to do certain things and promote their new ideas, and it's going to happen.
Doc, we're out of time. We're going to come back and we're going to continue to deal with this subject. This is a subject that we're going to have to spend a lot of time on. There's a lot of concern about artificial intelligence, and Doc has been talking about the benefits of it. We talked about some of the negativity of it. We understand our city council is divided in terms of whether to allow it in Jackson or not. And so we're going to continue this conversation and be able to help them make an informed, intelligent decision as to what should happen in Jackson, Mississippi. It's hard to ignore the economic benefits that data centers will bring to a town where 25% of its population lives below the poverty level. We're sick, we're obese, we have high infant mortality, we have high crime. So it's hard to imagine anything new coming in that would take us downward. If it doesn't elevate us, then I don't know what will.
Let me suggest something. I hate to interrupt.
Go ahead.
Any city or county that's going to put on the table a data center, and every other major city around you or county around you saying yes to that same data center, you are being controlled by others to make a decision like that. We're going to study this thing for a year or two, but John Doe right across the street, 5 miles in the next municipality, got 4 or 5 data centers. Who's going to get the jobs? If you are not going to have it in your community, your people are not going to get the training they need to take it. And when you start thinking about having one, you're going to be at least 10 or 20 years behind because they have all the new technology. So it makes me believe that someone has already decided that certain people don't need a data center, and we're going to encourage them to say we're going to put a hold on it while we study and find out the advantages and disadvantages. So sometime when you get in the boxing ring, you got to fight and learn the strategy while you're fighting and see what the weakness is of your opponent and the strength. Avoid his strengths, take advantage of his weaknesses, and try to win.
You heard it right here at We Believe Digital. Now, as always, Doc is available for speaking engagements, and he would love for you to contact him. Doc, give him your contact information.
Very, very simply and quickly, the number is 601-201-1957. That's 601-201-1957, or you can get us at CLU369@gmail.com. That's CLU369@gmail.com, and we'll go anywhere in the world. Call us, set it up, and we'll meet you there.
All right, you heard it here at We Believe Digital. We want y'all to have a great weekend. Stay safe out there. No more crime over the weekend, Jackson. Stay safe, and good night.
Hope you don't bleed.
No, we got hot mics.
Yeah, turn that mic up quick.